Let's go. All right, I'll go to the computer. Okay, thanks. Well, so just for the recording, Rick Usher, the Usher Garage, and this is our Digital Equity Week, Digital Equity for Emerging Entrepreneurs. And Lazone Grays has joined us. Pauline Johnson has been with us here for a bit. So I was introducing the team. So Tom Esselman, PCs for People, Larissa Uretti, and Aaron Crabb with Nowhere Consultants. And so Lazone, what we've put together is a team that is developing, first of all, a deeper understanding of the needs of lower income entrepreneurs, informal entrepreneurs, emerging entrepreneurs. I just ran across the term necessity entrepreneurs. And of course, there's always been side hustlers out there that we're trying to help understand their use of the internet, their use of technology and devices, what kind of software applications they may be using that are easy to use, payment platforms, and then we're also looking at how they're connected with their entrepreneur support community. And so like you've just outlined, you introduced Pauline to us through this program. Pauline has taken advantage of that networking connectivity, and then we're trying to continue to help grow like her connectivity in that community, because at some point, and actually I guess Pauline, we've already talked about it, access to capital. How do we get the capital we need to grow the business and support what we're doing? And so we'll be measuring these outcomes for a Heartland Challenge grant we received through the Kauffman Foundation. And Lazone, did you see the article that was in Startland?
Yes, congratulations, you all.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited. And also the other fun part is you're in our service area. So as we because they're like, talking about have you heard the term mink states? I had not heard this until Kauffman threw it at us. So Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, the mink states,
I like that.
the Middle West.
Yes, the Middle West.
So as we grow this program, I'm certain there's certainly some ways I think that we can work together over the next year. So the Heartland Challenge grant is a 2-year project. The basic guidelines of that program are that we're committed to seeking out at least 100 entrepreneurs in this category to complete this readiness assessment. We're seeking to help 75% of those that have completed that survey with the support services that we're offering. And so what we're offering is, and this is to households, individuals and households making 200% or less of federal poverty level. Tom Esselman just threw out another criteria that we can use, which is 60% or less of area median income. So we'll be looking at that number. And then once they qualify, we're looking at providing them with internet services through PCs for People, and a device of technology. So laptop, a PC, some other piece of technology. This will be part of the assessment. We'll see like, what business are you in? What are your technology needs? We already had a listening session where we found an entrepreneur who she's a candle maker, and she needed a printer to print out labels for her candles. And she got a grant through GIFT, another charitable nonprofit in the Kansas City region, that helped her get the funding to do that. So and then of course probably the larger piece of this is connecting those entrepreneurs then to this path. If you've seen the KC SourceLink's resource rail map, that we're going to really look at customizing that and curating that map for specifically to the clients that we're serving. Because if you've looked at that map, you can jump in about anywhere, and it needs some navigation. So will help direct folks to the technical training they might need, access to the software programs they might need. That came up in our conversation yesterday, actually, just the idea of curating a technology internet connectivity channel on that resource rail. Because I think so many entrepreneurs, that SourceLink might deal with, I mean, the question like just doesn't even come up. It did start coming up quite a bit, of course, in the pandemic.
Mhm.
People would call into their hotline and then not have the internet access they need to go to the classes or go to get the other access to resources necessary. So we'll be measuring that over the next 2 years and growing this program. I've also ran into Lazone. You've met Roberto Gallardo, some of the NDIA
Yes.
conferences. So he just published some stuff about, or he did a webinar. I didn't see the webinar, but then he tweeted a link to one of his data sources.
Yes, I remember that.
So, I just mentioned, I feel like I'm getting hacked, and my screen just jumped over to something I've never seen, and it's typing some kind of a search. Can you guys see me still?
Yeah,
We
you're,
can.
you're still there.
You're still right. You still exist.
All right, I'm back. Something weird is going on. Sailor's home, and we kind of share some accounts, and maybe it's his phone. I don't know. So so yikes. So but micro entrepreneurship, there's a Brookings report out that shows just huge increases in online micro entrepreneurship, home-based businesses that were created during the pandemic. They use that phrase, necessity entrepreneurs, people who didn't intend to go into entrepreneurship but lost a job, had income challenges, and just then started a business. There was a good article from Harvard Business Review about side hustles and all of the just different things you can go into in a secondary source of income in the sharing economy, from TaskRabbit to Airbnb or Uber and Lyft. There's a bunch of cool ones out there. My favorite, I haven't tried this yet, but it's My Toolbox. And I got a basement full of tools, and I got a 40-foot ladder in the backyard that's just, loafing out there. I could be,
Renting that out.
share my toolbox to rent a tool. But so that's, but then of course we see the challenge with low income residents, that they're not able to take advantage of these tools. And really, when you look at it, they're economic mobility tools. We know in the digital inclusion world about education and the consumer world and local government services, that kind of stuff. And so we're really trying to raise awareness now of employment and entrepreneurship through this program. But we were in a conversation before you joined us, Lizone, with Pauline about her business. So I would like to go back to that, Pauline, if you want to share more of, you were telling us how your business has grown, and then maybe if you could give us a bit of a story of of course you're telling us now how you developed this passion, but then how did you see the tools you needed, get those tools, and then how are they helping you today? Right, we can't hear you.
Pauline, you're muted. Yeah.
I did go through in the early part before the pandemic through SCORE.
Mm-hmm.
And I attended some workshops that were very informative. And so that even increased my knowledge and passion. And then I did networking and went to some other types of training that were like sponsored by the Department of Labor or Minority Women's Workforce. So just different types of organizations are out there that would like to take somebody like me under their wings, so to speak.
Mhm.
So I was able to draw up a business plan and come up with some different focus on what I really wanted to do. So it really boiled down to two things, and that was uplifting our communities in the urban core by bridging the divide where it would come to education, because obviously I have an undergraduate, and experience in the classroom. Um, and then also the financial literacy. And lastly, tools to prepare for the career workforce as far as workplace readiness. So I was told that, well, Pauline, you got to pick one. And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard because you do have to have some education to have a better way, a means of living for you and your family. And to navigate that, you really have to have some type of financial literacy, understanding how to budget, how to avoid different things in terms of setting you back financially, and then the pay, what they call those payday
Predatory
loan.
lending.
Yeah, all of
Predatory
that.
Yeah,
loans,
right, right.
And so it was really hard to say, well, those didn't connect. And then it was an eye opener doing the on-site um, digital training, because now everything, if you don't have access to the internet, you don't know, you're just lost. So I saw that as another avenue. So that's the reason why I kind of stuck with everything and then just kind of do it a la carte as needed and where needed.
Pauline, that's a great example from the perspective of somebody that, by your own admission, you've been involved, whether it was Connecting for Good or whether it was just out in the community with enough people so that you personally are aware of why and how computers and digital technology are helpful.
Mhm.
And so that's like one side of the equation. One of the things we're trying to do, and Lazone, I'm really grateful that you're joining us, because what we're holding a bunch of different listening sessions to help us better understand the right way to go about delivering what this program is really set up to do. Because on the one hand, there's resources that we have available, like from PCs for People, it's going to be, high-speed internet for at least a year, laptops, desktops, whatever technology solution we can tailor to the needs of emerging entrepreneurs. Those resources available. Perhaps even more important is what Pauline was talking about, resources that are available to help you with learn about financial literacy, to learn about marketing plans, business plans, HR, hiring, stuff that's out there that is really hard to do without technology. But at the end of the day, if you have the resources on this side, what we're trying to develop on this side is a quick, eye-catching, attractive, easy way to get somebody that says, oh, that's me. I want to connect with this tool, this assessment tool, that what we're calling this thing that we're going to develop that will somehow attract that. And hopefully, I mean, the whole idea is going to attract the attention of people who aren't digitally savvy, who aren't aware, like all they may know is they've learned how for the last 25 years how to survive with a cell phone. And they see and they hear people and they see people using computers, but in their minds, that's never been part of their lives. So far be it from us to just say, you need this stuff, sign up for it. But instead, we want them to say, oh, this could be something that could help me. How do we create something? How do we garner the attention of people who aren't in that digital savvy world? And, you know, you've done in Topeka for years work with kids, with high school and college age youth, and with working age adults. And I'm just curious your perspective on knowing what you know now about what we're trying to do. You know, any thoughts or just brainstorming ideas about what and how we could create a thing that's kind of like a portal that you have to be willing to say, I want to walk through that door so I can get access to these other kind of tools.
Who are you asking?
I'm asking
You.
that to you, Lizone. Just
Oh,
I'm asking, like, what thoughts are going through your mind as here we are, you know, coming from this digitally connected world. We're trying to create a tool that will attract people who aren't digitally connected, but we know that there's some tools that could help them. But at the end of the day, the success of this particular program comes down to our ability to attract the attention of people who are either, like Rick calls it, survival entrepreneurs or emerging entrepreneurs, informal entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call the term. And they've been doing it on the back of their own just need to get by each day and use their cell phone and come up with their own way to earn a living. But boy, it can unlock a lot of worlds if they got connected to all these other resources that could help them. And we want them to know that, but you know, you don't know what you don't know. So step one is, how do we attract their attention and get them into learn more about what this kind of program is offering? From
well,
your
I think that who shared that thing about the third space?
Oh,
Would that
I've
be
I've been
Rick?
sharing some of that
Yeah.
stuff over the years, but yeah, and I have written about the importance of coffee shops in
Mhm.
Yeah,
entrepreneurship and yeah.
community
just
centers,
saw
The
that.
third
churches.
spaces, yeah, definitely. I'm with you on that one.
And so, you know, I'm listening to the population, the low income, poor, probably eligible or receiving some type of public assistance. In the Department of Labor term, Section 3 type of entrepreneurs. And so there's a whole policy surrounding around that there. And I've always brought it up how we have worked with the with DCF when it was SRS. You know, we just helped the guy get about an $8,000 grant through DCF because Voc Rehab will give them a grant if they prepare their business plan and everything is right, but it's a reimbursable type of business grant. So they would give him the grant, but he had to go and purchase it, give them the receipts, and then they would give him the money back.
Wow.
He didn't have that money. Fortunately, here, a part of our sales tax goes for entrepreneurship, grants, microloans, the 10% of the $5 million sales tax per year. And so they didn't know that state Voc Rehab agencies, they have a regulation that allows them, if a person cannot get a job for whatever reason, but they want to be an entrepreneur, and they convince them that that's their employment plan, their plan, then they will allow them. They got the Washburn Small Business Development Center helped them prepare the business plan. Once he submitted it to VR, they said, you go get it, send in your receipts, and we'll pay it. So I got Go Topeka here, who stewards the sales tax, to basically flip the money because they got a bunch of money. So they sort of worked as a bank.
Yeah.
They put up the $8,000. He got his stuff, and then when DCF paid him back, he just paid off the monies back to Go Topeka. He couldn't have gone and got it on his own, but I had to convince them that this was guaranteed money. They have been giving microloans, but some of them have failed, and you
Yeah.
can't get that money back.
Right.
So this is really getting state money. So there is a target population, and the same with TANF. You know, not so much a food assistance yet, but the TANF population, they too can, through the authorization of a case manager, if they convince them that this is a better path for me, you know, I have felonies, I can't get a job, you know, but I have a great idea, I have a better chance at having my own business. This sort of places them in a position that they're, so I'm saying that you had mentioned you'll be on the Kansas side,
Yeah,
and we actually were paid. We had an agreement with the Workforce Partnership back in 96, 97, because entrepreneurial training, development and support services is an allowable program under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. But there are so few that really even knew that regulation, that the workforce centers had always been driven off of helping a person get a job, that if you go to the workforce center, they never think about entrepreneurship for the people eligible for the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act funds. Although those funds target the low income, veterans, disabled, youth, and things of that nature there. Entrepreneurial training is an allowable program or service for the use of those funds. So I would think that to get the access to the people, that finding some way of getting with the FEC and whoever the state welfare department is on Missouri side, of course, you know, on the Kansas side, and see if there's a way of working together to, because we already got them where they're buying computers and paying for internet.
Right.
And we can stop them from paying for internet by trying to get them to do the ACP, you know, so these are some fast moving things. And even within the state of Kansas, I don't know about Missouri, but starting July 1st, if you're 18 to 49 and you want food assistance, you have to be working 30 hours a week, looking for work, or in an approved job training program. And I'm trying to advocate that entrepreneurship should be an option just as well, because whether we like it or not, having a felony still holds people back.
Oh, yeah.
And many of the populations within that low income status, whether it is a felony that they think is going to hold them back or they perceive is going to hold them back, they still have that entrepreneurial blood. So if they could see a pathway that a program is going to take them the way that they are, where they are at, to help them move along, and even working with the housing authority, because all of their people are eligible for Section 3 entrepreneurs, especially those who may want to go into business where they can turn around and do business with the housing authority, because that's what Section 3 is all about. That should give them some hope that you're not just going to get the business plan and the tools, but is there that mechanism to help them? Some people are good for customers, some people are good for contracts. I think that Pauline may have a program, you know, that the FEC may want to pay her as a provider, or DCF, that is just as much as the business of her going out and getting a customer. And so knowing the difference between where those are at, even with the best supplier diversity ordinances on the books, there still needs to be, and you know that, Rick, there still needs to be some way of navigating, you know, to try to help a person get there, because one good contract can be a game changer for you to take down to a bank or a microloan or a lending institution. I have to educate the people here on small business and micro business. They're saying small businesses are getting the monies, and they are, but these are businesses that got $5 million, $7 million a year annual budgets, you know, and 35 employees. A micro business can't compete with them.
Right.
Is micro business, is that a recognized term? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll share that. I found more of a definition of that in an article here. I'll share in the chat.
So that's my thoughts on how to
tremendous
target,
insights.
maybe how to
Yeah.
find a target population to pull from.
the linkage between workforce development agencies like the Full Employment Council and Department of Health and Human Services, or like you said, Department of Children and Family Services in Kansas side. Yeah, it makes all kinds of sense. When I was out visiting with Workforce Partnership in Johnson County, and she also serves Wyandotte, and they got DCF staff right in their building. So it's totally linked to the work they're doing to get people into the job market. And to your point, and like you said, there's still advocacy work to do to recognize, the status of entrepreneurship relative to other, job pathways. But good God, yeah, that could just be a really fruitful source for, once we put something together. And it doesn't have to be, we're not talking about creating like a super complicated tool. It's a survey. It's, something that is going to enable us to quickly identify where the individual's coming from, what idea they have, why they believe it's kind of like a mini business plan, but it's designed to help us identify what they're lacking in a way that, recognizes they don't know what they don't know. I mean, if they recognize that there's some help out there that they're not able to access, but far be it from them to be able to tell you, here's what I want to access. But if we can find a way to identify those people, it's a lot easier for us to at least have a starting point to start tailoring who and how we link them. It's one thing to get them technology, but then there's other providers of, financial, marketing, HR, different types of business development support that ultimately I think is where we want to round out this program. But yeah, those are great insights, Lazone. Great.
And
Yeah,
just
that's
add
definitely.
that
Can I ask a quick question, or I don't want to interrupt Lazone here?
Go. Yeah.
So I have one for Lazone and one for Pauline, actually. So Lazone, as far as you know, were there restrictions on that 8K that they received as far as like what constituted a business expense that would be reimbursable?
I do know that you couldn't take a draw
Right.
on to pay yourself, but equipment, I mean, I got a guy, they bought him a vehicle, a trailer, embroidery shirt, and enough insurance so that he could have the minimum amount that he needed to bid on city work.
Cool. No, that's awesome. And then do you know, I mean, you mentioned, this gentleman that you were talking to, right? Or in any of those instances, how many of them, when they're handed that 8,000, like, do you know how many of them turn around and say, man, the first thing I'm going to do is purchase a piece of tech, right? So whether that's a laptop or something like that, because, are you seeing that behavior in them?
Not personally.
Okay.
Because like the guy that we just helped get the 8,000, he's a barber. He can cut your hair all day, but he's the type of person who would need to contract out with somebody to do his books or his paperwork. He has a cell phone, smartphone. They're great at that there, but they haven't taken it any much further.
And how is he taking payments then in shop? Does he have a point of sale system? What is his process? Is he cash only?
Well, being a black barber shop, a lot of them operate on a cash only basis in the hood.
Okay.
But it's not that he doesn't want to, or he could not be encouraged to upgrade, because I become a trusted person. I helped him navigate to get to the money. Now he believes in me. So
Right.
It's huge.
No, I think that's super helpful, because I think that's one of the pieces that I know we're really trying to get our heads around is, they get up and running, is their first thought, man, I got to get a trailer because I'm a lawn and landscaper and I got to haul stuff, or is it, I really want to be able to, take all sorts of credit card payments and all this kind of stuff because I know that's where my customers are at. And so let me go ahead and, lean into that technology piece first. Right. And so I think that's a really interesting profile for us to understand. Can I ask also, I'm going to make an assumption with that like to get these businesses have to be licensed, like, so does he have his business license and all that? Is that already taken care of?
yes, he did.
Cool.
I mean, a lot of guys, black guys, come out of prison and they cut hair. You know,
Yep.
because they cut hair on the inside, and I guess it doesn't stop you from getting a license or what have you. That's just one example. There's another guy with concrete. You know, he's
Mhm.
low income, but he had worked for 15 years and got him to start his own business. Fortunately, we have that 10% from the sales tax as a buffer of monies. But getting back to the low income DCF and those 10%, that's 500,000 a year, is
Mhm.
for those who are deemed socially and economically disadvantaged, not
Okay.
just small business. So
Right.
therefore, it cuts that into a corner. But I think that agencies like the Full Employment Council or DCF, they're not going to create the programs. You have to sort of solicit what you have to offer, and that if they are sold, they will know who the person is. They know who's going to put their best foot into it. They know also who's never turning in their job applications and who's just like on it to help you decipher or siphon out those people
Right.
who are maybe trying to take advantage of a moment, but in those people who really want to take advantage of the opportunity.
No, that's awesome. And then Pauline, just a couple questions for you. I mean, you have quite the background with your entrepreneurship and all this kind of stuff. I'm curious, when you first said like, hey, I'm gonna launch a business, like who did you turn to? Who did you tell? And who was in that initial, hey, I think I want to do something. And I want to make sure you unmute before. Perfect.
Yes, good question. My family, yeah, being a recent divorcee back in the day, and having a child still in high school and two others in college, I really wanted to make sure I had their back because it was
Mhm.
already kind of a um, situation where I really value the time of being with my family, but I knew that being an entrepreneur was going to take time. And I wanted them to see that the time I was being away was very well invested. And I wanted them to appreciate it and make sure I had their buy-in. And I can see that always being something with an entrepreneur, making sure that you have support. And then after that, then I think my next thing was going to someone who's already successful in, in small business.
And where did you find that next person? So like when you said like, okay, my family's on board, who did you turn to next?
Yes. So at the time, there really wasn't much out there that would resemble what I looked like or what I was going for. So it was kind of like kind of hodgepodge, kind of putting pieces together. So everybody said, "Oh, well, you want to go into tutoring?" I'm like, "Not really." But yeah, if someone's doing that, I would like to see how they're handling it. So the public library to me is always a good resource. And a lot of people utilize those free spaces that the public library offers. So I was attending workshops that, um, you know, um, people that were offering tutoring services or any type of family support or educational support, they would actually have that at your local library. So I was going to those workshops um, under the umbrella of being a participant, but really I was observing.
Cool. No, that's awesome. I could definitely keep going, but but I love hearing the stories in the background. If Rick wants to move on, great. Otherwise, I would selfishly love to know more what Lazone does. I don't know anything about the IBESA.
Yeah, Lazone, tell us of all the awesomeness you've created in Topeka in the last 10 years.
I haven't really done much, at all.
No, this is the understatement of 2022 right there. So,
I wouldn't know where to begin. I just know that I'm just happy. I think that we all can point to some people that we have lost due to the COVID. And so I'm to a point to where I'm just happy to be alive, and I've always tried to live a life as if the day was my last. So if I'm advocating out there, if I don't get it out there and it dies with me, then somebody else ain't going to hear it. But if somebody else hears it, it may resonate with them and they pick it up. And so, of course, with the digital divide space, you know, we're all celebrating sort of the COVID because it put all the money in front of us that we always said that we needed to do the things that we wanted to do. I hate for that to have happened like that. But now it's an energetic time towards the advocacy on these issues is taking root. And of course, last night we gave a little presentation at our city council meeting about celebrating Digital Inclusion Week. And there were some kudos that went around the room, but most important is that they acknowledge that, yeah, Lazone's been talking about this for 16 to 18 years, you know, so that a lot of new council members know that I wasn't new. And they had mentioned that, you know, the same thing I had said, because of the COVID, you know, it really showed us how important it is. So now with all this money and of course, with the broadband office and leadership and things, if you advocate on something and it comes true and it gives you credibility, it gives me confidence, but hopefully it'll get other people confidence as well. The same way as I'm looking at the things that I mentioned, that part about DCF and the state policy on the food stamps. A lot of those between 18 and 49 are with able-bodied, with no dependents. That's the word. So no dependents doesn't mean that they don't have kids. They could have dependents where they are behind in child support. Now, if you are the custodial parent, you receive all the benefits, the clothing, the transportation, the paid job training. But in this policy for the food stamps, which could be in Kansas at one time, it was 94% of the non-custodial parents were men, and 97% of those custodial parents were women. That these are guys who don't have access to the job training, the fees, the funds. They don't know about the workforce, federal funded training program. There hasn't been great outreach. All of those millions and billions of service under the welfare agency goes to the single mother with assistance, really creating a wedge between the father, because he's mad that she can get services and he can, and she can get training and he can't. So how to seize the moment that this is a new policy and make this a part? I've always asked, all they can say is no. And so a specialty project, job training, and I think running a business is a job, you know, that I don't know, in Kansas, I've tried to get some things done in Topeka where they could be replicated in another state or another city, so that there would at least be an example on how did that work in another city. So that's why I would think that I'm trying to give some suggestions on tapping into this market, because I know the other support services that they get, even beyond the $8,000 grant, the other services that they may get. I mean, they may pay you all, you know, to help them write their business plans. You know, we have so many resources. There's SCORE over there, and Development Center over there, and Casey Sorkling type of folks over there, and Network Kansas over there. Heck, I'm confused. What do you think that they are?
Yeah,
Totally.
So, but still, the trusted person is that they have to check in with their caseworker at least once a month at DCF or the Missouri. And when a caseworker sees that your program is working, they start going out and finding people for you.
Yeah.
Because they spent a lot of money on people with CNAs and CMAs who got the job, worked for 9 months, quit, right back on welfare, didn't like the work because they really didn't understand. But, you know, an entrepreneur is passionate about what they want to do. They just need the guidance and the help and the mentoring to help get them there. And it seemed like, you know, y'all always giving money away for pitch competitions in Missouri. You know,
Well,
so
yeah.
That is true. No, I think that's really cool. And I know personally that's something that I would not have thought of as a caseworker or something like that. You know, being able to either be a gateway for our program, right? Being able to ask some of those questions or answer those questions on behalf of the person that they're trying to help, right? And helping to bring them to our attention to say, hey, you know, there is this person who wants to start this business. Yeah, no, that's cool.
If she's a custodial parent and has a business and it's approved plan, DCF or the state welfare agency is the biggest entity that pays for childcare. They say how
Okay.
childcare is a big issue right now.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, she has an interview, you know, with potentially a contract downtown and don't have transportation. If that's part of her plan, they will pay for that to get down there. If they need a computer, they will purchase it if that's a part of the plan. And so the same way as I try to explain to my clients, tell recipients, participants, to take advantage of all public opportunities available, not to be a welfare queen, but to use it as a hand up and a bridge up to the next level there.
Yeah.
When I got here, I was on cash assistance and food stamps for 4 years, but it paid for my education at Washburn, which gave
Yeah.
me the education to be where I'm at today, which allows me to be here speaking with you today. So I can be some living proof on what it takes to be a second chance ex-prisoner
Mm-hmm.
who eats lunch with the governor and meets with President Mandela when he's alive. And that is a part of inspiration that
Yes.
sometimes those entrepreneurs have to hear that they're not lost. And if you have a little special interest on you know, a specialty where it's with those ex-offenders who they could have been an ex-offender, got convicted 13 years ago. They're still walking around with that baggage, and there's
Oh,
something
yeah.
that you can possibly do to give them some hope.
Yeah.
Good point.
What kind of when folks are talking to you, right, when they walk in and you're saying, hey, here's all of the resources that exist, right, what kind of resistance do you get? Like, what's their sort of initial response to you saying, here's the canon of all the things that I can help you with? Are you finding that you get any sort of pushback from folks, or are they just like ready to go?
By the time they get to me, they're ready to go.
Okay.
Mm.
Nice.
You know, they always said that there's certain people, the first thing that they do is they do what their PO and their case manager say, get a job. And they try to get a job.
Mhm.
And then that doesn't fall through. They start thinking about a side hustle, a
Yeah.
legitimate one. And when that doesn't work out, then that's when they think about crime, which may end up being selling a little dope or something like that there.
Mhm.
They first try to do everything legal before they get that final bubble busted. And I think that Rick, what's the Naeem?
Naeem, yeah, I was
Naeem,
gonna
yeah.
ask if you've talked with Naeem.
I haven't really had a long conversation with him, but he is an inspiration that shows what we're talking about.
Inspiration
Totally.
never ceases. That's Swag Inc. That's what the ink stands for. Yeah, he had signed up and he I guess was unable to join us here today. We have interviewed Naeem has been part of the program, and Lazone, he is going into the Kansas City Reentry Center. I think it's once a week, and he's teaching entrepreneurship courses to folks that are serving out the end of their sentences.
So when they get out, he can refer them to you for the help.
That is
Right.
dope.
I mean,
Right, and
honestly,
actually, yeah, we're trying to find ways to connect, even sooner. And then there's Kyle Smith has Determination Inc., where he's looking at workforce development and entrepreneurship, in both of those. So other resources, and Naeem is I think I did ask him. He's operating in Kansas as well, so that'd be
yeah.
I think a good.
And you know what? We also haven't brought up Connections to Success. And they're big and continue to be growing organization. I'm actually going to their fundraising luncheon, like the 1st of November or so first week of November. Because they do a spectacular job with people coming out of incarceration. I mean, they focus on soft skills and clothing and all that stuff, but it's all part of the same pathway and the same pipeline. And I'm just sitting here, Lazone. I mean, obviously Larissa and Aaron, if you just meet him for the first time, he's kind of a force of nature. Particularly when you know that all this stuff that he's speaking of with such enthusiasm and some serious results, all the years, Lazone, that you toiled with the running into brick wall after brick wall, And that's what's so incredible is, the type of tenacity that goes into, better helping a program like this really learn how to be like I've said to some of the other folks, this type of program has got to be anything but transactional. You know what I mean? It's got to be, and when you say we're trying to help build bridges and things like that, we really can't do it without these kinds of insights that you're sharing with us. And so I really do appreciate it. I think we're going to have to find a way to continue to work with you. And I do want to get to know Naeem better. And some of these other agencies that are working, like you said, they're merging more of the workforce development with kind of the health and human services side of life, and where those agencies start connecting with because a lot of these people, like I said, at least the populations recognize that there are mechanisms in place to provide some helpful resources. They may not know how to navigate them until they come upon you or Naeem or others, but at least they know they're out there. And I think that's a really helpful insight for where we have to turn a little bit more.
Locally, one of the last places people turn, I think it's a conditioning that has happened with this population, is they don't call the Chamber of Commerce. They don't even know they exist.
Yeah.
They don't call the Small Business Development Center or SCORE. They'll call me, Lazone, and I will try to assess them and shoot them to the right direction.
Yeah.
And then if I refer them, they will probably go. But on the humbug, most people don't even know these entities exist. They don't know what's available to them. You can qualify for voc rehabilitation for just being slow reading. I'm not saying use what you got to get access into the system to do that, but if slow reading is a part of it is your business plan, but also a tutor to help you with your slow reading.
Yeah.
People should take advantage of available public funds to move them to the next level, to not become dependent on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you've turned us on to some really interesting resources, as well as just other paths to reach the people we're trying to bring into this program. So,
and man, we got to get the word out to all the barbers, like everywhere that there's a barber shop.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking. I mean, even just the metaphorical sense, who are all those barbers out there that they've got the lived experience, and they've banged into their share of brick walls too. But it's really something that has shifted my way of thinking about where and who we turn to for helping to identify people that could.
And the hair salons, because the Brothers Barber, have the ladies over there at the salon, and there's a little nice flyer there, and you might even contract Pauline to do some little outreach, there, to get the word out, because people do make a connection sometimes. I have a guy from Buenos Aires who speaks to the Latino businesses who wouldn't speak with me, but he gets them in. So therefore it extends us, to have somebody that they can connect with to be doing that outreach and stuff.
Yeah, really cool. Really
yeah.
cool.
So, the barbershop conversation is reminding me of Craig Settles' project.
Yeah.
Craig Settles and Tom, you think know Craig as well, but he's developed a program to bring telemedicine to Black barbershops.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, guys, get your EKG done, or so. And I found an article here. I'll share so that, the rest of the folks can see it. But and this is kind of what we've been talking about with our program, like being focused on entrepreneurship. But you get internet access, and the utilization side of it is incredible. Just the benefits that can come from this, and helping people understand, the full benefit of being online. So,
can I interject real quick?
Yeah.
Because I think I'm probably the oldest one in the group here. So my mind, I have to start talking before my mind forgets what I was getting ready to say.
Oh.
But now that I'm listening, I do have a better grasp as to what this group is about and what level you are in trying to catch some traction is what it sounds like, in identifying those populations that definitely need it. Now, I'm probably unique in that, you know, like I said, I'm kind of already there in some aspect, but I need to uh, be brought up to the 21st century though, because I'm a little old school. But let me just say this, you know, if I had a magic wand and you all asked me, well, Pauline, in the next couple of weeks, what do you need? And I would answer and say just a few things. And the first thing of priority would probably be space, because I'm walking into situations where people need services and assistance, um, but you know they're ready to come out of that COVID virtual lifestyle. Now they're starting to get a little bit more comfortable. So I would need a space, really, um, and that way you are now establishing rapport, and you now have established a brick and mortar that these populations are now familiar with. Because let's face it, you know, there's a lot of gentrification going out, and what used to be the neighborhood, you know, place to go to is no longer there. So
Mhm.
sometimes now we're going to have to identify, you know, other than the local church, because it doesn't look like nobody's trying to buy out the church buildings, um, or the liquor stores. But yeah, so let's find, you know, a spot that is a mutual, you know, conversation, whether it's a coffee spot or whatever. You know, I keep bringing up the Reconciliation Center on 31st and Truce,
Yeah.
which was ideal because it's right there in the hood. It's right there on the bus stop. And, you know, if someone needed food pantry services or whatever, everything was right there. So let's just say that now, you know, I'm at a spot where I want to give, like right now, I had to fight and twist arms to do an ACT prep workshop. I finally got a spot, but you know, it would be ideal to have something like that, because we know ACT prep is important for those kids that are college bound, and they unfortunately lose out on scholarships because they don't have the right, you know, scores. So it'd be cool if I had a spot right there in the city that's neutral. It's not at a church, because now somebody feels like, well, I don't go to church, or you know, whatever. It's not at
Yeah.
a certain school, or you know, it's at a time and place that they can get to. It's on a bus stop or whatever. So you
Yeah.
know, most definitely. And then
That-
you know, being this from what Lazon is saying, you know, you are trying to identify populations, and I can just think of all types. You know, he mentioned the barbershop concept. And, you know, if you go with low hanging fruit in the Kansas City area, we have a gentleman that has a barber shop, and he does the annual back to school drive and the annual turkey drive. So he partners with area barbers in the salons, and they pool their resources together. And on that particular weekend, they're either giving away turkeys. So there you go. You know, you could have a table right there introducing, you know, the the thing here that we're calling it right now, where you want to identify those people that are trying to do their business on the side but don't really have adequate, you know, equipment and resources,
Mhm.
you know, so you could utilize the low hanging fruit, like I said, with him in the barbers and in the salons. You know,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of teachers like myself who did not want to go back into the classroom. So I have quite a few of my friends who are very intelligent, have all kind of letters after their names, but they don't want to go back into the classroom for whatever reason, which, you know, hey, and so now they're doing things on the side. You know, they're finding out, oh, I do remember how to sew, or I do remember, but they don't really have the technical skills. They don't know anything about a business plan. They've been in that classroom and they've been successful at that particular, you know, career path. So yeah, those populations are out there, and you're right. There's people out there that are needing the professional guidance, and unfortunately, capital and training is a challenge.
Yeah, and so Pauline, you brought us back to like Lazone's opening comment there on third spaces, and so you're needing them though on like you're not looking for like space to lease, but you're looking for shared space that you might
Yes.
have. And you had mentioned like public libraries. Those
Yes.
are great spots because they're also distributed through neighborhoods that you're likely wanting to serve.
Mhm.
I know Parks and Recreation community centers, you know, kind of the same way as far as having assembly space, larger spaces that you could use for events like you're talking about. And the Mohart Center is another, you know, good
That's a
example
good
one.
in Kansas City. And we, in as far as like digital equity, digital inclusion programs go, that idea of a community learning center, something that's within a half-mile walking distance of your house, like if you don't have internet services at home. I bring up that terminology because we had a program. I had some interns a couple of years ago start mapping where, you know, you can go in your neighborhood to get access to a computer, free access to a computer, internet services, Wi-Fi if it's available in the space. And it is an eye opener because, you know, we know about food deserts. There
Mhm.
are, you know, there's internet access deserts, like there might not be, but then there's also that third space desert in Lazone. I started a program several years back just mapping where entrepreneur support organizations were in the community, and I called it the mapping is called Emerging Innovation Districts. So I also threw coffee shops on there and just very quickly saw like the coffee shop desert in our low income neighborhoods. And so I would start talking to folks like, okay, where do you go to get a cup of coffee in the neighborhood? Like, I got coffee here in my office, or we drive over here to go to Starbucks. And like anyone in entrepreneurship who is taking people or taking meetings in a Starbucks, I need to talk to those folks, because when we're talking about shop local entrepreneurial support, you know, you've got to be, you know, supporting that locally owned business. So
That's
I've
right.
diverged away, you know, while we're on that third space conversation, but that third space is also where a lot of micro businesses go. And over the years, I've met folks that, you know, they're working in the coffee shop, but they're running their business. And it might be just because it's convenient. I can buy a cup of coffee and I can take a meeting here. But it's also doesn't come with the cost that a co-working space does.
Right.
And at the same time, like the library can become like I was at Bluford Library, and I was kind of joking, like, well, you're just a coffee pot away from being a co-working space. And they're like, hey, we got the coffee pot right here.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's, I think that kind of support we can bring to this. And I've spent a lot of time like at Bluford Library trying to find those folks that are running a business from the computer in their, you know, free computer access spaces. But those are like just ongoing challenges we have. But we're coming up on 3:30. We want to kind of be an hour and a half. We really appreciate your time, Lazone and Pauline, you know, for joining us. And you've given us a lot to think about, a lot to work on. So we're definitely going to follow up with you, Pauline, to, you know, bring you into the fold and start, you know, more on this device side and internet access side of things. And then Lazone, you know, digging into these other programs. And it's interesting when, like you have found, these government agencies that have programs that support entrepreneurship, and they have no clue. They have no idea about it. And so I think what your challenge to us then is like, we have to develop that program and sell it to them and show them how to be successful with it. That,
Because you already have the connections. I mean, you know, the
Yeah.
FEC and the Workforce Partnership.
Right.
You all are trusted people.
right. And then
Yeah.
we've got Gabe Munoz in Wyandotte County. Have you met Gabe Munoz? He started the Toolbox KC, and it's essentially a KC BizCare for Wyandotte County. But he's
I followed on Facebook, so I did see that. I thought you were a part of that.
the Toolbox KC.
Yeah.
No, I love that you think I am. But, I support what he does. I refer people to him. And we had a listening session there with some of the entrepreneurs that he serves. But that I think would be a really nice enhancement of his programs. So we're
Well,
just,
you know, I'm preparing because, and I will get you here. We have a new city manager. I had you speak with our city manager, the previous one, but we have a new one now. He's a good guy. And I'm trying to keep them educated on this Kansas capital project funds,
yeah,
which can be used for multi-purpose community facilities to build a building or rehab one. How can some of those monies be asked for to maybe make one of those incubator type of buildings in the neighborhood? Just like, you know, the Wi-Fi at Juniper really kickstarted and spun off that building across the street.
Yeah, no
It
question.
became connected.
Yep.
And so it's probably their vision of tearing down the neighborhood that was its demise, not the lack of quality of programming and service. And so
Absolutely.
I'm looking at the multi-purpose center type of funding,
Yeah.
because Kansas
Yeah.
is going to have
Yeah.
a lot of money, and so is Missouri. And so maybe that can be a part of the matrix of what you all may be doing in your ask, you know, for that project. Because I think entrepreneurship, you know, even under the digital or the infrastructure bill, when Biden came in, not political saying, but he made all of the federal agencies do an equity thing to increase more contracting with women, minority, and disadvantaged businesses, second chance businesses. So somewhere, all the parts of the car that comes in first on race day is in pieces in the middle of the table.
right.
And we have to be the architects and put it together.
That's great. That is
I
great.
love that. I love that analogy. Like it's absolutely right. Like, yeah, no, that's cool. I want to, before everyone disappears, in the chat, I know there's been some links going around. People have dropped their emails. If you just make sure to save the chat for yourself, it'll drop it in a folder on your desktop. You can click 3 dots and just hit save chat, and then that way you've got those resources. It's one of the things I always forget to do on a Zoom, where I'm like, oh man, that was in there. So I just wanted to give a little PSA.
All right.
Helpful.
I know I did it for myself, and I was like, I should probably say something.
All right. Hey, so Pauline, do you have any closing thoughts for us?
Oh, this was very, very informative. I again would say, you know, I would welcome the opportunity to be your guinea pig or your beta. And yeah, I think that you'll find that what I'm trying to accomplish would be something that you'd be proud of, to be a part of.
Yeah.
And it's sustainable. I mean, I believe in reaching back and helping those that are trying to get here as well. So
Yeah,
the
Great
time I
stuff.
just
we'll
sent you
definitely
an
will.
email.
Great. All right. Thanks, Pauline.
Definitely.
I
follow
got
up with
it.
all of you. All right. Well, again, thanks for everybody for your time, and we'll definitely be following up with you and sharing you more information about the
Thanks,
program
Rick.
we're offering going forward. So,
This was really good.
well, thank you. Happy Digital Inclusion Week.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Nice meeting you all, and I'll talk with y'all later.
Okay.
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Thanks
All
so
right.
much.
Good meeting everybody.
Bye-bye.
See ya. I'm gonna stop your recording.
That was really, really